Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa Page and I forecasted the Walt Disney Company's quarterly revenues. The Walt Disney Company is a highly successful, diversified, worldwide entertainment company that operates in 5 business segments: media networks, parks and resorts, studio entertainment, consumer products, and interactive. All 5 business segments generate revenue. The graph represents the Walt Disney Company's quarterly revenues from the end of 2001 to the beginning of 2016. As you can see, revenue has been slowly increasing over the years. The goal of forecasting the company's quarterly revenues is to predict future quarterly revenues. The importance of forecasting is being able to predict operational, financing, and investing needs for any type of company. Here is the regression output from Excel regarding the original data I collected. As you can see, I originally had 57 observations, or quarters, with an intercept of roughly $6,079 million and a slope of about $118 million. I used the intercept and slope in the linear regression method and in the third-order polynomial method to forecast the revenue for each quarter. The equations are shown here. This graph shows the forecasted quarterly revenue using the linear regression method and the linear regression with seasonality method. The blue trend line is the actual revenue generated each quarter. The orange trend line represents the seasonally forecasted revenue using linear regression, and the purple dotted trend line represents the forecasted linear regression revenue. As you can see, both solid trend lines follow along the dotted trend line well, with a few discrepancies here and there. Based on the graph, there seems to be some seasonality because the seasonal trend line decreases during the fall and winter months and increases or hits its peaks in the spring and summer months. The average amount of revenue generated over the presented period is about $9.5 billion per quarter. This graph shows the forecasted quarterly revenue using the third-order polynomial method with its seasonality method. The orange seasonally adjusted trend line doesn't seem to match up very well to the actual revenue generated as compared to the previous linear regression with seasonality that we just viewed. The average amount of revenue generated over the presented period is about $10.120 billion per quarter. This last graph shows the forecasted quarterly revenue using 3, 6, and 12 quarter moving averages and 3 and 6 weighted averages. All 5 methods seem to follow a similar trend that the original data presents, but with moving and weighted averages, there aren't any dramatic peaks and low points like the original data presents. Moving and weighted averages are smoothing methods that remove the random variations and show trends instead. The average amount of revenue generated over the presented period is about $9.4 billion per quarter. This table shows that the forecasting method I use, which technique I use to compare the effectiveness of the methods, whether the method is effective or not, what the most effective and the least effective methods are, and what each method forecasted the Walt Disney Company's next quarterly revenue. I chose the mean absolute percent error to compare methods because it is the most commonly used for forecast accuracy. If the mean absolute percent error is 10% or less, then the forecasting method is pretty reliable. If the value is between 20 and 30%, then it is pretty common and not as reliable. As you can see, the majority of my methods were pretty accurate, linear regression with seasonality being the best, but some like third-order polynomial and third-order polynomial with seasonality aren't very reliable methods. Oddly enough, the forecasted quarterly revenue seems to be larger with the more unreliable method. In conclusion, based on the forecasting methods I used, revenue seems to be affected by the seasons. More revenue is generated during the seasons with warmer and nicer weather, like spring and summer, while revenue dips in the colder seasons like fall and winter. Therefore, more employees should be hired in the summertime, and the company should spend more money on advertising and promotions in the unpopular seasons to boost revenue. Even though revenue decreases in the colder seasons, the revenue generated overall has been increasing slowly but surely over the years. Alright, I hope that helps. Good luck.